Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about how some of the largest companies around, some of the largest, most popular, most profitable companies around, made some maybe unethical business decisions or did some unethical business practices when they were first starting out as startups. What if I told you that companies like Reddit, Tinder, Facebook, Uber, Airbnb, LinkedIn, among others, all did some kind of questionable business practices in their early days. Probably things that today they wouldn't do and things that more established companies wouldn't do. But as a startup, a lot of times, you got to kind of do whatever it takes to succeed. And a lot of people have the kind of attitude of by any means necessary. So when we talk about business and ethics and things like that, obviously ethics is subjective. What I think is okay to do in business, you may not think is okay to do in business. Some things that you may think are okay to do, I may not think that are okay to do. In general, though, I think as long as you're not lying and deceiving or harming your customers, and as long as you're not going out of your way to, we'll say, harm your competition in an unfair way, I think everything else is pretty fair game. So, kind of how I got started thinking about this was I was actually contacted by somebody who was looking for my help in how to promote their Amazon brand. So they had a brand of Amazon products or a brand of products that they were selling on Amazon. I actually thought I won't get into what they were, but I actually thought they were pretty cool products. And I was kind of surprised that this guy wasn't having more success with his products on Amazon. He had very few, he'd been on Amazon for a few months, very few reviews, wasn't selling nearly as much as he wanted to. So I was kind of looking at, what kind of social media presence he had, how many reviews he had. The product was solid. It was about how he was promoting it and how he was trying to drive his traffic where he was falling short. And so I made some suggestions. I told him to consider doing a product launch. Now, there's a couple companies who do product launches where basically they have like networks of reviewers and bloggers and influencers, and they'll get those people to promote your products for you. They also will, if you want to roll out this service with your product rollout, if you're willing to give away free products to people, they will get those people to leave reviews for you on your Amazon products. And obviously, as we all know, reviews are what sell Amazon products. Without reviews, you're not going to show up high in search ranking. And without showing up high in search ranking, you're not going to sell any products. Also, even if customers do see your items, if they don't have reviews on them, a lot of people aren't going to buy your items. So that's what kind of got me started suggesting to him, okay, well, would you do a review kick program where you give away some free products in return for reviews? And there's nothing wrong or against Amazon policy about giving away free products for reviews. You're not allowed to outright pay somebody to leave a review. And actually, I don't even know if that's a rule. I believe the rule is actually on a reviewer. As a reviewer, you're not allowed to accept compensation outside of a free product. So if you want to give me a free kitchen spatula to try out and leave a review, and you want to give that spatula to me up front, well, that's perfectly fine. But you can't tell me, here's a spatula and $100, please leave me a 5-star review. Also, if somebody leaves you a review, you are responsible for making sure that they disclose this, and the reviewer is responsible for disclosing, hey, by the way, I either got this product at a discounted price or for free in return for leaving this review. That's the is it FTC or FCC? Either way, I think it's the FCC. That's the FCC rules about truth in advertising and everything. I also suggested to this guy, and this isn't something I always suggest, but I suggested he buy some social media followers and buy some retweets and things like that. The guy just had absolutely no social media following, and it was kind of a joke, and it was sort of a disservice to his product that he had such a poor social media presence. So I said, look, don't go buying 15,000 followers, but on your Twitter, buy 300 real followers or something like that. You can do it pretty cheaply. It's going to give a little bit more credibility to your Twitter channel as well as your brand. And it's typically not, I'd prefer people grow their stuff organically. But, I was going to try to take a little shortcut because his product had somewhat recently rolled out and we wanted to get it off to a good start, basically. Anyhow, this gentleman had a problem with giving away free products in return for reviews. He didn't think it was ethical. And really, there's nothing wrong with it. It wasn't give away a free product for a guaranteed 5-star review. It was just simply give away your product for free and ask people to leave a review and ask them to leave an honest review. And if somebody only thinks your product deserves 2 stars, by all means, they should leave you 2 stars. If they like the product and they think it's a 5-star product, by all means, leave 5 stars. But pretty much every serious Amazon seller is doing some type of, we'll say, product rollout or product launch, whether that involves hiring like a kind of a PR company with influencers to promote the product for you, whether that means giving away free products in return for reviews. If you want to succeed on Amazon these days, you pretty much have to do that. And personally, I don't really see anything that wrong with it. But anyhow, without dilly-dallying any longer, let's get into what some of your favorite companies did as early startups. So Reddit, it's probably the biggest forum on the internet. In the early days of Reddit, they actually created fake accounts or bot accounts and basically filled their own site with content. They did this because it kind of allowed them to shape the way that Reddit would evolve. And it makes sense. You know, a lot of forums are really stupid. Reddit's kind of unique. I think Reddit's a little bit more hip. It's got a better active user base than many other forums and things like that. And the reason that Reddit is what it is because Reddit, you know, stuffed it with fake content basically and kind of steered the direction that the forum was going to go. So as a real user base grew around Reddit, the direction remained the same, and slowly over time, this allowed the fake accounts to fade away. Reddit is now in the top 100 sites on Alexa, which is a site that ranks websites. And basically, with each one of these companies, we're gonna basically make a judge, or at least I'm gonna make a judgment call and say, is this kind of sketchy or is this scrappy? Is it sketchy? Is it wrong, or is it just kind of gray area, but clever marketing, clever ideas. So Reddit didn't really harm anyone. They needed to make their forum have some value for early users, and a forum that's empty without any people and without any comments isn't going to provide any value. So when you grow a site that's based around a community, you need a community to get it started. And I would say in this case, I thought this was scrappy, not sketchy. I think Reddit had higher quality bots than maybe a lot of the other bots out there. People actually thought a lot of these were probably real profiles. It provided some content on Reddit for people to search. It provided some questions for people to go answer. And I don't really see anything wrong with that. So the next one is PayPal. PayPal is probably one of the best known, if not the best known, payment companies in the industry. Personally, I hate PayPal. I'm going on 3 months of them having 10 grand of my money tied up, but that's besides the point. PayPal all but has a monopoly on eBay payments. I actually think that's kind of unfair, but again, besides the point. But in the early days, PayPal created a bot that purchased items on eBay and paid using PayPal. Now, after a while of this happening, after PayPal kind of became the norm for payments, eBay wound up purchasing them for $1.5 billion. The story essentially proves that yes, you can buy your way into business. And though this has nothing to do with SEO, this may be somewhat considered, people talk about like white hat, gray hat, black hat. And black hat is basically like cheating or unethical. White hat is like, basically just doing things to optimize your site or whatever. And gray hat is kind of things that kind of right on the line of if this is okay or right to do or not. I would say what PayPal did here was probably gray hat. It's somewhat deceiving to eBay to make all these fake purchases just to make them think that your service is really popular. I mean, think of it, if PayPal service sucked and eBay wound up going with them just because PayPal had made a bunch of purchases, we'd have a really crappy payment platform set up for eBay. So I would consider that somewhat sketchy, but I mean, nothing illegal about it, just a little bit sketchy. Tinder. Dating websites are notorious for creating fake accounts to increase demand. Anyone who's visited any kind of non-mainstream, heck, even the mainstream websites like POF and some of those have a lot of bots. But anybody who's visited kind of a new up-and-coming dating site probably knows that most of the accounts on there are fake bots. But Tinder's first 1,000 users were all bots. However, today Tinder is valued at $5 billion. Yep, that's right, $5 billion. So like Reddit, in order to make a community work, you need other people in the marketplace. And that's a tough thing. I've thought about starting some businesses that revolve around a community, whether they're classified type sites, dating sites, whatever else. And the hard thing is, excuse me, you can't bring in new users unless you have an existing user base because there's no value for them. But how do you bring in new users if you don't have an existing base? So that's why Tinder basically created 1,000 bots. Obviously, this is somewhat frustrating to people who are actually on a dating site trying to meet people when everybody you're trying to meet is just a fake computer program that's liking your profile or whatever. But it is what it is. That's what they had to do to get started. Like I said, I think the tough thing about starting a community-based business or website is that you're kind of in a catch-22. You need people to get started, but you can't get started without people. This was a little bit sketchy, but I mean, again, it wound up working out. There's nothing illegal or really wrong about it. Did they deceive their user base? Yeah, a little bit, but they wound up building it into a good site. So I mean, we'll just call that one, kind of scrappy. Airbnb. Airbnb is a peer-to-peer rental service. If I go to a city and I don't want to stay in a hotel, I can stay in an Airbnb. What Airbnb did was create a bot that automatically responded to housing posts on their rival Craigslist. They essentially stole viewers, customers, whatever you want to call them, from Craigslist and converted them into their own users on their own website. This is what led to a lot of their early growth, and Airbnb is currently valued at around $24 billion. Is this sketchy or scrappy? It's a little bit sketchy, but pretty much every internet marketer, affiliate marketer does blog commenting, does forum commenting, comments on other people's YouTube. So everybody's trying to steal viewers or steal traffic from other sites. This is just kind of the norm with internet marketing. Facebook had access to all Harvard students' emails and regularly blasted emails to them about Facebook. The Facebook platform spread to different college campuses and eventually obtained 1.2 billion users. I say here, I've never really been a fan of Facebook. To this day, I don't maintain a actual Facebook profile for myself. I do have a few throwaway accounts I use for marketing purposes and creating groups and things like that, but I actually don't maintain a Facebook account. This is somewhat sketchy, as Facebook did not have the permission to spam email all these users. Nobody likes spam email, and they kind of took the route of asking for forgiveness instead of permission. So this was a little bit sketchy, but I mean, I would say most people probably don't follow email etiquette or even the legal email protocols. So we'll just chalk that one to Zuckerberg with a college kid, and it is what it is. MySpace. It's been a while since we heard that name, right? I used to be an avid MySpace user, and I actually liked MySpace better than Facebook. Similar to Facebook, MySpace had an email database of 100 million email addresses and spammed them all to announce their initial launch. As we said above, nobody likes spam, so we'll chalk that one up to a little bit sketchy. This one, it does something I really don't like. A lot of you guys probably never heard of this, Glide video texting. Glide is somewhat of a lesser known company, but I like to try out a lot of new apps and stuff, and Glide is essentially a video messaging app. So it's sort of like a Snapchat, I guess you could compare it to. They spam texted users to get them to download their app. They wound up doing one of the things that I hate the most, which is an app communicating with your contacts without your permission. And basically, they texted everybody in my phone book asking them to download the app and sign up without my permission to do so. So that's really bad in my book. I immediately deleted the app, and I would recommend people don't use it for that reason alone. YouTube. I love YouTube. It's one of my favorite apps and websites. I love it as a creator. I love it as a viewer. I love it for entertainment. However, in the early days, YouTube founders installed a feature which allowed viewers to spam their friends about a video. YouTube in the early days was also known for hosting copyrighted and pirated content. And I say here, somewhat sketchy, but I have a hard time knocking YouTube as I like it so much. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a social network for professionals. I imagine most of you guys should know what LinkedIn is, but LinkedIn is basically like a Facebook or a MySpace, but strictly for business professionals, and it's more about networking and sales and things like that. So they tricked users into inviting your contacts to join their platform. Users were not happy about this. It wound up leading to a lawsuit that cost them quite a bit of money. I believe they lost about $11 billion of their company value. LinkedIn is, however, the most established professional social network out there and boasts over 400 million users. This is not only sketchy, it's against the law, and they wound up getting into a big lawsuit over it. This one is about Amazon sellers, not actually Amazon directly as a company, but most Amazon sellers who have thousands of reviews probably started out with anywhere from 50 to a couple hundred either paid reviews or reviews which they got by giving out free products. There's nothing against Amazon policy about this. There's nothing necessarily outright wrong about doing this. However, what it basically boils down to is most of the best-selling products on Amazon, the products with the most reviews, the products that rank the highest in search, they aren't necessarily the best products out there. They're not necessarily the best quality products out there. And those sellers don't necessarily provide the best customer service experience either. It basically boils down to they built up a lot of reviews earlier and are kind of coasting on those good reviews. Okay, we're back, guys. Sorry, my screencast software cut off, so I had to start a fresh video here. But as I was saying, the most popular products on Amazon, the products that show up highest in searches, the products with the best reviews are not necessarily the best products. It's basically the people who did the best job of marketing their product and did the best job of building reviews early on and did the best job of building up sales ranks. So there may be better quality products buried on the 10th page of Amazon. However, those guys maybe didn't do a free giveaway campaign where they built up a bunch of reviews from scratch. One thing I've noticed about Amazon, and I'm actually going to make a video about this, but one thing I've noticed on Amazon is, let's say you give away a bunch of products for free reviews. Typically, you're going to wind up with all 4 and 5-star reviews as long as your product isn't pure crap. You're not technically allowed to make people give you a 5-star review. People shouldn't give you a 5-star review because you paid them or even because you gave them a free product. However, I think to some extent, when somebody gets a free product, they're automatically going to feel a little bit of an obligation to give a halfway decent review because you gave them something for free, right? It's all within Amazon's policies, but nonetheless, if you get a free product from someone, you're going to feel a little bit bad about leaving them a 1-star review. So that 1 star may be bumped up to a 3-star. Someone's got a 3-star product, you may bump it up to a 4-star product. If someone gave you a product that you would normally give 4 stars, you'd probably bump it up to a 5-star product. It's just kind of human nature. You kind of feel the need to reciprocate and help the person out a little bit. So basically the point is that, the most popular selling products aren't the best products. But the other thing I've noticed is if you start building up a lot of 5-star reviews, there's almost kind of a groupthink thing that kind of happens where I think future people almost feel the need to give you good reviews. And I'll give you guys an example. I've bought a lot of Fiverr gigs from people. Literally, I've spent thousands of dollars on Fiverr gigs. And sometimes I'll buy a gig that I don't completely understand. I'll make I'll submit your website to a private blog network and spin cycle, people use all these crazy terms, and spin cycle your post and get you 5-time optimization, Excel, all this nonsense. And sometimes I'll buy these things just because they have a lot of reviews, and I don't even necessarily fully understand what I'm buying, which is probably kind of stupid. You should probably understand what you're buying if you're going to buy something like that. But nonetheless, I'll buy it, and I'll be like, I didn't really notice a noticeable difference in traffic or followers or anything. Not like I'm buying followers, but I'll post your thing to Tribe Pro, and it'll share 15 million social shares, and this, that, and the other. And the people complete the gig, they'll deliver. Oh, I completed the gig. And I'm like, I think with most of these things, you're not going to notice a difference within a 3-day period that you have to leave a review. But furthermore, I don't even know what the hell they're doing. So I'm like, well, I don't even really know how to rank you. This could be great. Maybe I owe you 5 stars. This could be terrible. Maybe I owe you 1 star. But if I see everybody else has left you 5-star reviews, and I maybe assume that, oh, well, this guy seemed to leave a kind of a long, thoughtful comment. He says this really worked for his site. I guess this probably is a good gig. I'll give the guy 5-star review. And I really don't even know what I bought. I didn't really have any noticeable difference in traffic or anything. But nonetheless, I basically am just leaving this guy a 5-star review because everybody else left him a 5-star review. And there's really nothing that I can say he did a terrible job on because I don't even really know what I bought. So I'll leave a 5-star review. And I think the same thing kind of happens with Amazon. Let's say I buy like a paracord bracelet or something, and I've never bought a paracord bracelet before. I just see one on there, and I think it's cool, and I'll buy that. And it shows up in the mail, and I'm like, this kind of scratches my wrist, and the clip's a little bit hard to clasp, and I really don't know if this is good quality paracord or not. I hear people talk about 551 paracord. It says it's 551 paracord. I don't know if it is or not, but everyone else is leaving 5 stars. So, maybe this is a good paracord bracelet. I'll leave 5 stars. So, like I said, this isn't really anything Amazon's doing. It's not really an Amazon business practice. It's more just kind of how sellers do things. There's nothing wrong with it, so to speak. I'm going to pause this video for 1 second. Sorry, guys, I had to pause the video. I've got my popular post tab here on the side, and for some reason the image was hanging over blocking the blog, so I just wanted to fix that real quick. But let's move on. Bing's a newer search engine. If you guys remember, I don't know if it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they did kind of a big push to gain our business, all the TV commercials, everyone talking about Bing, and they were trying to take us away from Google. Now, some people raved about Bing when they came out. Personally, I've never really been crazy about the search engine. I kind of prefer Google. Bing is owned by Microsoft, and first Bing stole Google search results. They claimed their search results as their own, and then they denied everything when they were caught. Prior to this, Bing had copied from Apple in the past. Then they moved on to stealing from Google. Google's an enormous company. They have a huge wealth of resources. And if you're going to steal from Google and get caught, at least acknowledge it. But that was definitely kind of a sketchball thing to do. Not very cool, so we'll call that sketchy. Next is Oracle. Oracle's a software company, and this is kind of funny. When Oracle named the first version of their software release, they called it version 2. They thought customers were more likely to buy a version 2, which is more likely to have the bugs worked out and flaws worked out. Typically, a version 2 is a more polished product. Oracle is now worth about $200 billion. Yep, $200 billion. So this is a bit misleading, calling your first version version 2. However, nobody was harmed. It's only minorly distrustful. So we'll kind of call that one scrappy as opposed to sketchy. Uber. Now, Uber, this is actually the story that got me thinking about this whole thing. Like I said, this whole article, blog post, whatever, started when I was kind of talking ethics with a guy who basically didn't want to give away free products for reviews because he didn't think that was ethical. I really don't see anything wrong with that. As you know, I think if you're not willing to do that, you're really not going to be able to compete on Amazon, period. But anyhow, this Uber story was big in the news when this happened. I remember, this story stuck out in my head from a couple years ago. So when I decided to look into, what are some kind of questionable things companies did in their early days, this is basically the first story that came to mind when I decided to kind of make this post and make this video. So this is a couple years ago. You probably heard about it in the news. Uber employees ordered and canceled more than 5,000 rides from their rival Lyft. The rival peer-to-peer ride-sharing company, not only did this decrease the availability of Lyft drivers, so people who really needed rides weren't able to get them because all these Uber employees scheduled all these fake rides. What it also did is it hurt Lyft drivers' revenue and earnings. So a lot of people count on Uber and Lyft to earn their living. And basically when all these people are going to pick people up and then having their rides canceled and then they go to pick someone else up and the ride's canceled, they're wasting their time, they're wasting their gas, and they're not making money. There were a few employees who actually did not cancel their Lyft rides. They got in a car and had the Uber drivers drive them and had the Lyft drivers drive them to the Uber headquarters. This basically caused Lyft drivers to begin to doubt Lyft as a company, which it really, it's not as if Lyft was running a poor operation or Lyft did anything wrong. Basically, Uber did something which, in my opinion, is somewhat unethical and trying to basically sabotage a competitor, and basically made drivers who drove for Lyft question, do I really want to drive for Lyft if these things are going to happen? Even though they were no fault of Lyft's, it put doubt in their minds. It also, obviously, for this one day or whatever, took rides away from people who actually needed them. So a lot of people who maybe used Lyft in the past are like, oh, I can't count on it. So I think this is pretty sketchy, though it is somewhat clever. And though Uber has wound up beating out Lyft as the better known and more popular peer-to-peer ride provider, it was a sketchy thing to do. The other thing I really don't like about this is it actually affected, it affected Lyft as a company, but it also affected the actual drivers who, aren't some big wig in a corporate headquarters. They're just, maybe people out of work, maybe single moms, maybe people trying to make a little extra money on the side. But the people that they hurt were the drivers who are just trying to scrape by and make a little bit of money. So for this one, we say shame on you, Uber. So as I said, we've covered some of the largest, most popular, most well-known companies out there, probably some of your favorite companies or websites: Reddit, PayPal, Tinder, Airbnb, MySpace, Glide, YouTube, LinkedIn, Amazon, Bing, Oracle, Uber. So just to kind of wrap up, ethics are subjective. We all have our own code we live by. We all have our own standards of what is right and wrong and what we're willing to do to get ahead. You can be the judge of the stories above and decide for yourself whether the ends justified the means and whether what they were doing is right or not. You can also decide if some of these tactics are above board and if you want to use them in your own business or not. But just realize that when you're a startup, when you're just starting out, when you're trying to make a name for yourself, people are willing to do a little bit more than they are when they're established companies. You don't have as much to lose. So A, you don't have as much to lose, and B, you're not as known. So if people, if your whatever decision you make winds up blowing up in your face, if you're a huge, well-known company, everybody's going to hear about it. If you're nobody, nobody's really going to hear about it. But it potentially could help you get started. In general, I'm not really one for trying to sabotage competitors, for lying to your customers, anything like that. But We all got to do clever things as a startup, as a new business. A lot of times you got to get over a 10-foot wall and you only got a 5-foot ladder. So you got to figure out some shortcut to take or some way to get over that wall. So what do you guys think? I'm curious to hear your guys' opinions. Which ones of these do you think are kind of scrappy and which ones do you think are sketchy? Which ones do you think are right and which ones do you think are wrong? And if you have any other kind of interesting stories about things that new startups did when they were just rolling out that maybe are somewhat questionable, feel free to leave a comment either on the blog post here or on the YouTube video itself. And if anyone wants to read this blog post in full, I will link to it in the description box below. So thanks again for watching my video. Give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, click that subscribe button just to the bottom left of the video. If you have a blog or something, feel free to embed this post in there if you want to do a little write-up about this topic. And I got some great videos coming out later this week, so stay tuned, and we will talk to you guys next time.